This is Keep On Cookin', a podcast for people who love cookbooks, want to know more about their favorite plant-based authors, or even those that are curious about incorporating more vegan meals into their daily life. So grab a cookbook and keep on cooking. I'm Dustin Harder, and this is Keep On Cooking. Hello and welcome to Keep On Cooking, the only podcast dedicated to plant-based cookbooks. I'm your host, Dustin Harder, and padam, I hear it and I know, padam. He's my husband and producer of the podcast, David Rossetti.
Okay.
Are you padaming over there?
I sure am.
Yes, he
and I'm doing actual choreography.
Oh, yes, he is. Because how can you not?
Come on, everybody.
It's the song of the summer.
It is the song of the summer.
It's the song of the
Get
summer.
on it. Padam, Kylie Minogue.
I hear it and I know. Yeah, we can't stop singing it today and yesterday.
It really just and we're doing it and we don't even know that we're doing it, which I guess is a sign of a good song.
I have unapologetically played that song probably 20 times in the last 48 hours.
For sure. Me about 20.
And
So
I
between
have
us-
you really?
Yeah. Well, and I saw it. I did a benefit for an arts academy here,
Yes.
and one of the performers randomly
Bust out.
sang the
Padam,
song. I was
padam.
like, and I heard the first chords, and I was like, "Is this padam?" I literally was
I
like
mean,
losing my mind. I was like, "Am I
boom.
just hearing it in just like every song that comes on?
I
Am I
mean,
hearing?"
It is my only qualm right now is that on Spotify I'll do Padam Radio. And the first like 4 or 5 songs are usually good. Then it goes into some stratosphere that I don't understand. I'm like, this isn't what I asked for. I don't want this.
There's a fine line between padam and like, I don't know,
like
kind of
house techno music. Yeah, it goes into it. And I'm
Which,
like, what
To each
happened?
their
here?
own. But
Oh,
like,
no judgment. It just wasn't
Yeah.
what I'm looking for. Like, give me like Kylie, Brittany, Minogue situation. Kylie, Brittany, Minogue, Kylie, Madonna, Brittany
Oh my God,
situation.
what if we?
You know, we
could-
just had
what
a
if we- no, wait,
baby.
what
It's
if we could
Kylie, Brittany,
clone-
Minogue.
What if we could clone our favorite pop artists?
No.
Well, have you heard about the AI versions? Like it has someone else. They've used AI to basically like Christina to sing a Britney song, and they will computer generate it. Yeah,
There was one we listened to. It was Christina singing "Hit Me One More Time." I think.
yeah.
Didn't we
Which is
hear that together? Wasn't I with you? I thought.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember where.
Oh my gosh, it was quite creepy actually.
But
But then it's also everything
dangerous
I want to
times.
hear. I'm like,
I
I
know,
want to
right?
hear
You're
that.
like, but
I want to hear
I'm
that.
kind of
Just
into
like
it.
I want to hear Britney sing "Dirty." I want to hear her sing Christina's "Dirty." Wanna get dirty. There, that's
That's
Britney.
good.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you.
That was not AI generated.
That was not. That was Dustin
That was
generated.
DH generated.
For those of you that don't know what Padam is, that is the new Kylie Minogue song. Just so you know, if you
Take a
didn't know,
pause and do
now
yourself.
you do, and you're welcome.
You're welcome.
And just like the genius she is, she released it in Pride Month. So happy Pride to you all.
Happy Pride.
Happy Kylie Minogue month.
Happy Padam.
Happy Padam. And happy Pride to you, darling.
Happy Pride to you.
Yes. Well, let's get into it today. We have a very special guest with us, and I've been
Mhm.
following him on social media for a very long time. I think I have a little crush. He's a handsome little devil, compassionate, smart, and kind. What's not to have a crush on?
He's the author of not just one, but 2 cookbooks.
That's right.
So we've got the complete gluten-free vegan cookbook, 125 recipes everyone can enjoy. But the book you focus on kind of with him in the interview is oh God, I knew I was going to have trouble with this. The WFPB Cookbook, 100 recipes to enjoy the whole food plant-based diet.
We were like, before we started, we were like, do we say
Do we say
WFPB?
WFP
Or
I
whole
can't even say
food
it.
plant-based? Well, I just realized what you got to do is like WKRP. So WFPB in
Oh, yeah.
Cincinnati.
The WFPB
See?
Cookbook.
There you go. Okay. Oh, your bottom lip just gave a little.
Thank you.
like a little, the brats.
The box.
My goodness. Well, Justin Weber's background as an English teacher may seem like an unlikely segue into authoring a cookbook, but his love for language and teaching others paired well with his passion for cooking.
Justin's food and cooking journey began when his son was born. At the time, he was nearly 400 pounds. It was being warned by doctors he was on the verge of a major health complications, which we hear quite a good bit. He reflected on his food choices, started moving more, and changed his eating habits. So in 2 years, he lost nearly 200 pounds and was told by his physician that he was in model health.
Yes, and as he learned more about health and nutrition, he transitioned to eating whole food, plant-based meals and living a vegan lifestyle.
And whole food, plant-based, and veganism was never like a weight loss plan. He just simply feels better eating and living this way.
That's right. Justin shares his food and health journey on social media and in his book, The Whole Food Plant-Based Diet, in order to provide a creative and holistic approach to cooking that empowers people to establish for themselves a healthy and sustainable lifestyle. Here he is to tell us all about it and more. It's Justin Weber. It's the last full moon of winter, and I feel a change a-coming because we have the ridiculously talented, smart, and funny person behind the blog and Instagram, Crow Moon Kitchen, Justin Weber, on the Keep on Cooking podcast today. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm thrilled you're here, and I'm going to start out with your icebreaker question. What is your phone background, and what's the reason you picked this image on your phone background?
My phone background is actually the top of a hill in Trempealeau, Wisconsin, and it was on, I know, it's super fancy. I did a century ride, so 100 miles in a day bike ride.
Amazing.
And it was the top of this hill, and you're looking out over this like just lush green valley in northern Wisconsin. So
I love that. That's great. That's a nice inspiring image to look to on your phone every day.
And I had to earn that picture because I had to bike to the top of the hill.
Also it's a great memory of an achievement too. When you look at it, you're like, that's amazing. Have you done many of those?
Yep. I usually do one every summer.
Cool.
So I got into cycling a couple of years ago and, just training throughout the year and kind of like daily 10 to 20 mile bike rides. And then I try to do one of the 100-mile rides.
How long does the 100-mile ride take?
Usually, like if the weather is nice, about 6 hours.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Sensible. All right. Well, my background image on my phone is I have a cat and a dog now, but my cat, who was like my heart cat for years, passed away probably 4 years ago, but he is the background image on my phone, and I'm like, that will stay there forever until whenever. I've switched like 3 phones and it always pops up every time, and I'm like, great, stay there. I will keep it there as long as you will let me keep it there. So that's what mine is. Muzzy, I'll say his name out loud. It's my cat, Muzzy. Well, I've been following you for a long time. Your content is so great, and you're the author of 2 books. So we've got the complete gluten-free vegan cookbook, but also the book we're going to talk about today, which is the Whole Foods Plant-Based Cookbook. See if I can get it in the screen there.
I even have it.
Yes. Oh, look at that. Double shot. Great. And of course, you share recipes regularly on your website and your blog, crowmoonkitchen.com, but you have a pretty phenomenal story as to what brought you to cooking and vegan cooking at that. So would you mind sharing with our listeners your story?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of my story goes all the way back into like high school. I struggled quite a bit with my weight and overeating. And like as I got older and, into my 20s and 30s, by the time I was like early 30s, I weighed about 370, 400 pounds, somewhere around there. My scale maxed out at 375. So I have no idea after that. But when my son was born, a little over 8.5 years ago, that was kind of like that wake up call of, okay, I want to change my health because I, want to be able to be an active father and play with him and essentially just stay alive for him. So I like changed quite a bit of my habits in terms of food and like thinking about food and learning about food. Like I'd always cooked, but most of what I cooked wasn't that great.
Sure.
And then lost 200 pounds just by changing a lot of my dietary patterns. I started working out a little bit, got into biking. That helped quite a bit. But along that whole health journey was where I really learned quite a bit about food because I was very focused on, okay, I've never really thought about food much before. It's just this tastes good or this is a recipe, you're kind of used to. But as I learned more, I was like, all right, I want to kind of share the things that I'm learning. So I had my Instagram account and I was sharing some of the recipes and just over time, it kind of developed into what it is now, where, I was able to, I was fortunate enough to be able to write 2 cookbooks and, sharing things on Instagram and being on podcasts like this one as well, and just talking about my story and what I've learned about just food in general. And that's also during that time, I had been vegetarian now for 21 years.
Okay.
But it was in that journey is where I was like, all right, I'm going to, thinking about food. And then I'm like, why am I vegetarian? Like, I'm against eating animals, but I'm still eating the things that they produce,
Yeah.
So that was that wake up call. And really kind of what brought me into veganism is thinking about, why am I doing it? Like, I don't need these animal products.
Right.
And I don't, it's like, I don't want to be the person who's hurting the animals, but yet I'm still contributing to it.
Yeah.
And so I've been vegan now for, I don't even know how long.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, must be
years.
around 7 years, I would imagine, if you started
like
looking
that.
at it around then.
Yep.
And I find that you have this, tremendous weight loss story, but I find in following your Instagram that you celebrate food. There's a balance of it, right? For you, I feel, which I love, because I think that's the biggest fear for everyone when they start to look at vegan food, or even if they look at weight loss, they're like, I'm just never going to be able to eat anything that I like ever again. And you seem to have found a nice balance with that. Can you expand on that at all for our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was another part of like, okay, I need to like rewire my own brain in terms of thinking about food. And I always, part of what brought me into, getting to be over 300 pounds, 400 pounds is that I was solely focused on just the indulgent side of it. I was focused on just like the comfort side of it, and eating things that were really, high fat, high sodium, high all of that. But I didn't want to give all of that up, because then you like live in a really restricted lifestyle, and you're just saying like all of this stuff is taboo, it's off limits, you can't have that. So it's like, okay, I want to try to figure out like a healthy balance that works for me. And so, I can still rock the vegan burger, and, I can still have fries. It's just, I'm not doing it every single day.
Yeah.
And I really want to, like, that's been my journey over the last several years, is to figure out, how can I honor food, and how can I honor myself with food? And instead of it just being like, okay, I'm just going to eat dinner, it's, I'm gonna learn a new recipe from a different culture, and I'm gonna kind of enjoy those flavors and enjoy that tradition of it. And then, it's Friday night, I'm gonna make a vegan pizza.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a good Friday night vegan pizza. I love that too. And I think people get scared, really. They get scared. It's not. So now we've talked about the idea of like, oh, I'm scared I can't have it again. But the fear of when someone gets on a path of losing weight, and they're excited about the changes that they're seeing, but then they have an event coming up or something, and they get so nervous or scared that, oh, I'm there's a birthday party this weekend, I'm going to blow everything. But when you talk about balance, it's like, if you're, eating foods that fuel your body most of the time, you can go to that party and, eat within moderation and enjoy yourself and have a good time. That way it's not feeling like this restrictive lifestyle, but it is about changing the mindset like you're talking about. I think that's a huge thing. You say a great thing on your website in the about section, a quote that I pulled. I'm going to quote you. But you said, I'm a food addict, I'm a binge eater, and it's an addiction that you can't simply quit. So I changed my mindset about food. Instead of treating it like a drug and abusing it, I treat it like a cure by giving it value. And I thought that just really summed up nicely. If we can all sort of, just look at it that way. I have these conversations with a lot of people these days about shifting to a plant-based diet, and there's certain things that click for them. And I think this idea of treating food like a cure by giving it value, it's such a simple, to me, it's like, yes, that's it. That's the approach. That's it. It's so simple, but it just, everything clicks differently for different people. So for everyone listening too, you're hearing this amazing story, like, just keep going, and like eventually something clicks for you. For you, I feel like it was having your child, and you had a moment, and then suddenly it clicks. I just feel like there are I mean, have you had moments during this where you got scared you were going to a party or anything like that, and ways to sort of combat that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's hard because especially when you are like on that weight loss journey or on a health journey, even really,
Mm-hmm.
is you're changing quite a bit about your lifestyle. In terms of like how you're seeing food, how you're eating it, like all of those different things. But then you go to a place that it's like unlimited in a
Yeah.
sense of like there's just all of the different indulgent foods, and like it can be pretty stressful in terms of like holidays as well. You
Yes.
got like Christmas, Thanksgiving, any of those things where it's just food everywhere.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's hard. And like I talked about in that quote, is that it can be an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Food can
Mm-hmm.
definitely be an addiction. It can be one of the ways to cope with things. And it is essentially that drug because it is filling your body with different hormones and
Right.
different chemicals when you're eating, and you feel good, when you have that big meal.
Yeah.
And you're always like craving that next thing. But with food, it's hard because, unlike any other drug, you can just quit it. I can quit whatever drug that is. With food, like you still have to eat,
You have to
you
have
know?
it. Yep.
So trying to like, I mean, it's like a whole different addiction mentality in terms of like reworking it because it is something that is
Mm-hmm.
completely internal.
Yeah.
You have to find what's going to work for you.
Yep.
And people ask me like, oh, what did you do to lose the weight? What do you do to, keep the weight off? And it's like, I can tell you what I did,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what worked for me,
Yep.
you know, and everybody is different. Everybody is coming from a different place with it. Everybody has different feelings attached to food,
Yeah.
whether it's, an addiction or, cultural, I don't want to give up all my cultural food,
Mm-hmm.
um, because that's such a big part of my identity and whatnot. And yeah, it's tricky, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think like even what you were just saying is that, there has to be that balance because if you just say like, I can never have whatever it is ever again, I can never have ice cream ever again, you're always just going to feel like, I really wish I had ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
It's like just have it, just don't
Yeah.
have all of it.
Just don't have
That's
it every day, which is listen,
exactly.
I am guilty. I fall into these places, and it's funny you talk about the holidays because every holiday I'm like, I'm not making cookies this year. I'm not
Hmm.
doing it. But it is something that I enjoy doing so much. And I wouldn't say it's a tradition for me because my mom always bought these like frozen Gordon's food service cookies when we were kids. So it's not like we
Yeah.
were making cookies as kids, but for me, it's turned into a thing every year where I'm like, oh, I like making cookies and giving these out as gifts, especially now vegan cookies, taking
Hmm.
them to people and
Yep.
they're like, oh my gosh. But it's also like I have to have that moment before I start when I'm like, okay, these cookies are for other people. You're going to get to have some, but not all of them. Just like when I make a cake, I'm like, you don't need to lick that spatula. You've licked that spatula a gazillion times in your lifetime. You know the batter tastes good.
Hmm.
So it's little moments like that. Among other things, different for everyone, as you say. But listen,
Yep.
so then vegetarian and then vegan. Do you remember when you really started cooking vegan? Is there a first vegan cookbook you owned or one that resonated the most for you that you remember cooking out of the most when you first really dove into plant-based cooking?
Yeah. So I don't like, even when I was vegetarian, like I was still cooking, a lot of vegan things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there was kind of that switch is again, I don't even remember like what kind of clicked. It was just one day I was just thinking like, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I eating cheese?
Yeah.
Like this goes against what I'm thinking already internally. But the first cookbook that I really used was the Veganomicon.
Sure. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, that was one that was like, it's pretty like simple to follow
Mm-hmm.
recipes. It's kind of a like a really good starter for people as
Yeah.
well. Um, and it's not like it's so broad in terms of what's there.
When we talk about Veganomicon too, I like it because the hits always just keep coming with that. Like
Hmm.
literally, that's like a book you can set on your counter and just be like, well, I'm going to cook through this for a year and you're going to be
Yep.
more than set with Veganomicon. Terry and
Hmm.
Issa set you up for success in that. So that's a
Hmm.
great one to sort of dive into. I love that that's your answer. Well, people toss plant-based and vegan around all the time. And now we're talking about whole foods plant-based with this cook. To me, that's food in its natural state,
Hmm.
unprocessed. So, what does that mean for you with this book? What's your definition for whole foods, plant based?
So, when we talk about vegan food. The vegan part of it is more of that, like the ethical side of, I don't want to be contributing towards the harm of animals. I, want to do my part to really work on how agriculture affects our environment. But then that's just like that ethical side of it. In terms of the actual nutrition, and this is where a lot of people get kind of thrown off, is like, okay, I went vegan, but then I felt horrible all the time. I wasn't eating well, I was gaining weight. And it's like, well, you're just swapping, one processed item for another processed item.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with, the vegan processed things, because again, that's comfort, it's easy. Like who doesn't love a good vegan nugget?
Sure.
And you're just like, I don't want to cook, I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw this in the air fryer and do it. But if we're actually looking at like nutrition, how to make this sustainable for our own health, as well as like how to make it sustainable for our environment as well, is that next step of, okay, now let's actually talk about like the nutrition side of vegan, is the whole food plant-based.
Yes.
And the whole food plant-based, like you said, is food more in its natural state.
Yeah.
It's as close to earth as we can get. It's not going from crop to factory, it's crop to belly, basically. Yeah. And it's looking at food like that cure. What are different things that, I can eat that my body needs? How can I best fuel my body with food? And how can I intentionally look at the nutrition? And whole food plant-based is plant-based items. So it's things that aren't, heavily processed. It's not the vegan nuggets. It's not, the vegan cheese or anything like that. And then it's the whole food part of it is, I want to eat it as close to nature as I can. So you're going to have more of like the whole grains, like whole wheats. You're going to focus more on, beans, legumes, lentils, like all of those different things. And having a wide variety of food as well. Because I think a lot of times, especially here in America, you're busy, you're doing all these things, and you kind of get stuck in that rut, and you're just eating the exact same food every single day. But with whole food plant-based, it's looking at, okay, how can I best fuel my body with a variety of different kinds of plants? How can I give my body just a really diverse nutrient set in order to, for it to do its job and just kind of take whatever nutrients it needs.
Yeah.
Vitamins, minerals, all those different things.
Yep.
And then my goal with it is like, I love food.
Yeah.
I love eating. I love cooking. I love exploring different international cuisines. And when I was writing the whole food plant-based cookbook, and when I talk about it on social media and everything, is like, I want to make it not boring, because I think that that's like the mindset that a lot of people have with whole food plant-based and even vegan food, is like, it's really boring. It's that little side salad with no dressing on it.
Yeah.
5 little lettuce leaves, and you're just like,
I'm hungry.
You're just, oh, I'm just going to go out to the lawn and grab some dinner.
Yeah. Right.
But it's like, no, I want the food to like look good. I want it to be appealing aesthetically. I want it to smell good. I want it to taste good. And I want it to be comforting still. So with a lot of the recipes in it, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to figure out how to make some of these common comfort foods, but use just plant-based ingredients. So like a cheese sauce, I want to make a cheese sauce that I'm not just using a bag of shredded cheese, vegan or not.
Right.
How can I make it using different plant-based ingredients? And really, like, I've become kind of like almost obsessed in a lot of ways.
Are you talking about the cheese sauce specifically?
Well, I've been making.
Because I was gonna say that's an obsession of mine, hands down. Probably my biggest obsession since I got into vegan cooking is like, how can I make this the most whole foods plant-based, most delicious, and most like cheese?
Exactly. And like, just looking at like, okay, what are the different combinations of all the different plant-based things we have, that, we always think about like, oh, I'm going to have a potato. It's like, oh, I'm just going to like bake it and eat it, or I'm going to fry it and eat it. But it's like, no, you can use that for like a lot of different things. It's a nice starchy base.
Yep.
And it's just been kind of fun to like figure out just wild different combinations of things, and to also learn a lot about spices and seasoning and just making things like
creating flavors.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was it's interesting that it went to this route of, for me, cooking became more interesting when
Hmm.
I went vegan. I mean, that's why I would have never went into cooking the way I have had it not been for going into vegan food, because that's when I
Hmm.
became obsessed with it. I mean, that is the correct word. Like, it was an obsession over recreating things that you love, either first, without animal products, and then as time has progressed for
Hmm.
myself, like, well, how do I make it healthier? Even, as you
Yep.
get older, that becomes a big actual thing,
Yep.
If there's any youngins listening, trust believe you're going to hit a point where you're like, oh no, I do want this to be healthier, and that's going
Yep.
to be your priority. Well, you start the book out talking about the benefits of a whole food plant-based diet, but you also talk about easy swaps when it comes to eggs, fats, oils, milks, protein, salt, and sugar, which I love. And you have a great section on getting to know ingredients, breaking down some details about vegetables, fruits, beans, legumes, whole grains, herbs and spices, nuts and seeds. And you even talk about some minimally processed ingredients like miso and tofu, and also
Mhm.
sweeteners. You've got you go into smart shopping, proper storage, essential tools, and some cooking techniques. And everyone listening, he is just brilliant at all of this stuff. If you follow his Instagram, there's just like all these tips and tricks all of the time. I mean, Justin, I can't tell you, like, I'll be watching your Instagram and I'm like, wait, I didn't know. So really, like, just some great stuff. But we should also talk about the garlic moment on your Instagram.
Yeah.
People have gone bananas over that. I did that remix video with it and people are like, what? And then I don't know, did it work for you on the first try when you did it?
Yeah.
So I had like a little piece and I did it. It didn't work. And I was like, oh, I think I need a bigger one. Then it worked right away. But I've gotten so many people, it's like half and half. Some people are like,
Yep.
this is the most amazing thing. It worked immediately. And then other people are like, it's not working for me. And I'm like, okay, I can't troubleshoot for you. I don't know what to tell you, you know? Listeners, there's this great video Justin has where he literally sticks a paring knife into a whole head of garlic and pulls one clove out. So you can go search it and then you can tell us if it works for you or not. Essentially, you fill us in on some labels on this book before you start the book. So you've got some great labels in here that indicate for everybody what type of recipe it's going to be, so people can flip through and decide, oh, that works for this or that. You've got labels that give us whether or not it's a 5-ingredient recipe, a gluten-free recipe, a no-cook recipe, a nut-free recipe, a one-pot recipe, or a quick recipe. So all helpful labels to help you decide what to cook as you're going along here, everybody. Chapter 1 is breakfast and smoothies. Let's get into some recipes. Do you have a smoothie from this book that came from your regular rotation? Like when you wrote this book, is there something where you're like, oh, this smoothie is definitely going in here, I have it all the time?
Yeah. So smoothies are something like I have pretty regularly. And it's not the smoothie where it's just basically light ice cream. It's more of that, like, okay, I'm gonna try to, which are delicious.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
try to set up my morning with something that's like, I'm a father of two
Mm-hmm.
little kids, and it's like a lot of times I don't have a ton of time. I'm not gonna be able to make pancakes on a work day. Um, but a smoothie, you could dump that in. My kids love it, and you can like swap out ingredients so much to make different flavors in it. So like the one that's in my cookbook here is that tropical greens smoothie,
Oh, yes.
which I love this one because I mean it has a ton of different things in it. And this is kind of my regular smoothie that I'll have. The banana base, I mean, that's giving you a lot of that fiber that you
Mm-hmm.
need for the morning. It's going to help you just stay sated as you go about. And then, throwing in, sometimes I'll do more citrus base, like with this one, it's the like orange, mango, things like that. But then I also like to try to throw in quite a bit of vegetables as well.
Yes.
Because I think the smoothies, a lot of people think predominantly just fruit,
Mm-hmm.
but you could throw a lot of vegetables into a smoothie before you're drinking vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It's my
like this
favorite
one,
thing about a smoothie. It's literally how I get my vegetables in.
yeah, yeah. Well, and you're doing it raw too, which is nice
Mm-hmm.
because that's something that, I mean, it gives your body different nutrients
Yeah.
because when you cook something, it does chemically change it. So you're giving yourself something that's more of that raw base, and it does take your body quite a bit longer to break it down as well
Mm-hmm.
because you got to
Mm-hmm.
digest it all. So
Yep.
you're going to stay full and you're not going to like have that desire to snack so much.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, 10 o'clock, I got to have my snack bar.
Right.
Like you still feel good, and it's quick, easy. You can swap things out of it. I a lot of times throw like a nut butter in there, almond butter, cashew butter, peanut butter, tahini, anything like that. Throw it in there. You get some of that protein. It adds some creaminess to it. Yeah, you can do a lot with a smoothie.
What's in the tropical smoothie? What are you tossing in there?
That's bananas. So that's the base of it. That's what's going to make it more creamy. It's got orange in there, so a little bit of that zest and citrus flavor. The mango, which adds more of the sweetness.
Delicious.
So there is some fiber in there, some different vitamins in there, but yeah, it adds a lot more of that natural sweetness. And then I like to throw celery in there because it adds like a little peppery. Yeah, it adds a little pepperiness to it. And then some kind of nut butter. So I'll use like cashew butter if I have it around, almond butter, peanut butter, any of those throw in there. You can throw some spirulina, which that adds a whole bunch of different kinds of minerals that your body needs, different vitamins as well. Flaxseed, you get some of the good omegas in there. And then you can use water. A lot of times I'll use some kind of non-dairy milk. So if you make like oat milk or something, you can throw that in there.
Sounds healthy, delicious, and nutritious to me. What are these vitamin C smoothie cubes, please? What are those?
Well, that was when, like, you know, I'm a teacher, so I'm in education, and as teachers, you're just pretty much always sick with the cold.
Sure.
Because, you know, you have how many different people coughing into your shared space. So, you know, like a lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to take vitamin C pills, or I'm going to take this vitamin C thing. But it's like, well, you know, why not add some like actual fruits and vegetables into it and get the vitamin C from more of those like bioavailable ingredients like that. So with that, you're using, like, I went through and just tried to find everything that was like really high in vitamin C. And I wanted to put it together into something that would still be good to eat.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to make it gross or like weird looking. So so like I use papaya in it. Papaya is, you know, again, high in fiber. It's, you know, naturally sweet, really high in vitamin C. Mango, that's another one. Pineapple. So you're thinking like the normal citrus things. But then you get cauliflower. So throw cauliflower in there. And cauliflower is like startlingly high in vitamin C. More so than an orange even.
Look at that.
But we just don't think about that.
Sure.
And when you blend it up and it's raw, it really doesn't have much flavor. Because the sulfur that we associate with cauliflower, like that smell to it, really only comes out when it's cooked.
Right.
But when it's raw, it just is this vitamin C bomb that you get to enjoy.
Nice.
And then, you know, throw in some of the obvious like oranges, and you could put in bell peppers as well.
Great.
Because bell peppers, again, like more of the like the red, the orange, the yellow, the more ripe ones are going to add some more of that sweetness. And because a pepper is a fruit, technically.
Yep.
And it's going to add some more of that like fruit flavor, as well as, you know, really high levels of vitamin C. So blend it all up into this liquidy substance, and then freeze it into ice cube trays. And then now you have these like little ice cubes that you can throw into something. You can throw it into a smoothie, and it's just,
I love that.
you know, high levels of vitamin C coming from plants.
Yeah, so smart and so fun, and a nice way to do it, to just have it on hand and ready for you too. I love that. I'm trying to think of like other things. There's like, you know, like those cold remedy drinks that are like ginger and everything. I'm like, we should make now I want to make ice cubes out of everything. I'm like, oh, that's great. I love this. Well, you've got breakfast items in this chapter too: an overnight chocolate chia pudding, slow cooker savory butternut squash, carrot cake oatmeal, raw cinnamon apple and nut bowl, vanilla buckwheat porridge, polenta with seared pears, whole wheat blueberry muffins, and veggie breakfast hash. Is there something in the breakfast arena that's a staple for you that made it into this book?
Yeah, it would be that hash that's in there. That's one that I make pretty much all the time. I make it a lot. It's really great for leftovers too, and you can use it in other things. So it's like, okay, I make a big wok full of it for breakfast, and now you can like throw it with rice. You can throw it with whatever, you know, polenta or something like that. And that
Gotcha.
I can swap out kind of whatever's in my fridge.
Yeah.
Of like, all right, I got sweet potatoes. I'm gonna make a sweet potato hash. I got regular potato, whatever. I got some, like again, you're just trying to like eat as many vegetables, and
Yeah.
a hash like that is a great way to eat
Yeah,
all of the
absolutely.
vegetables.
It's like just adding more vegetable. This is what I'm trying to do as I get older
Hmm.
too. It's like literally just put more vegetables in everything.
Yeah.
If there's room in the pot, then you can toss some vegetables in,
Yep.
essentially, Well, next is the salads and sandwiches chapter. What's a salad in here? Someone just picked up this book, let's say. What's a salad from this chapter you would tell them to make first?
Probably I mean, if we're going like more easy and kind of like versatile, I'd probably say that ancient grains salad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's something that's kind of cool. The company Bob's Red Mill, they started doing this just a couple of years ago. Is they started putting out their ancient grain line.
Okay.
So things that like here in America, and even in a lot of other like Western parts of the world, you're not going to have. It's not very common to have like sorghum, like
Mm-hmm.
just the sorghum seed,
Sure.
and thinking about it as, oh, I can just eat that seed versus I'm going to use that flour, you know, uh, ground flour for something else.
Yeah.
Um, and they have like a wide variety of it as well, kamut and sorghum and quinoa that we're a little bit more familiar with now
Mm-hmm.
these days. But that ancient grain salad tries to again take uh, a grain that we don't necessarily associate with much here in America as farro, but
Yeah.
other parts of the world, like it's super common. And what's awesome about it is it's like a great substitute for rice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not that there's anything wrong with rice, but like again, you're trying to get a huge variety and diversity of
Mix
food
it
into your
up.
body.
Yeah.
Yep. And it does have a different texture. It's a little more like chewy, so more interesting to eat.
Yeah.
Um, and then also I throw in some raw rye berries. So what they use to make rye flour. It's like you can actually just eat the berries. Again, you can
Okay.
get that. Most like bigger grocery stores will carry that now. But then also throwing in some other things like we're going to put in some pears. So there adds a little bit of sweetness to it. Celery. I do love celery. I use
Mm-hmm.
it a lot. Add some crunch, add some of that pepperiness to it. Throw some apple in there, some fresh parsley, some raisins. Top it off with like a little bit of lemon juice and some ground cumin. So it's like savory but sweet,
What's the
but
name of this
not like
salad?
the ancient grains
It's the ancient
salad.
grains one. Okay. Great. I'm writing it down because it sounds delicious.
Yeah. And it's another one. Like it's great for lunches if you're going to try to do any kind of meal prep, stuff like that, where you can eat it
Yes.
cold. It's perfect. Super easy to
Yeah.
make. I mean, you're just cooking down the farro and rye berries into something that's chewable, and then you just mix everything else in.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't require like I need culinary school to figure it out. It's
Sure.
cook it
Just
until
yep.
it's done. And that's
Yep.
it.
Yep. Then mix it all together. And then
Yep.
great to have. I love a tip on meal prep always. There's stuff that's great for meal prep. So I love a shout out for that too. Have you ever been to Natural Expo West?
I have not. I've heard about it and I want to go.
So it's massive. It's overwhelming. It's a little too much for me. I've been twice. I have not been back post pandemic, but they just had it this last weekend. But you said Bob's Red Mill, so then I was like, I've never shared this story. I don't think when they do their booth there, it's this huge booth. But also, the first year I went, he was like marching around leading a parade around the convention center. So the actual Bob that you see in the
Yeah.
pictures. So it was just it was hysterical. We were like, is Bob leading a parade? And then you turn around, you were like, well, he certainly is leading a parade. So it's a very festive time and it is a lot of fun. But it's also just a lot. It's very overwhelming. It's a lot of people, a lot of products. And when you go, if you ever do get to go, my tip is to pace yourself because you get real excited at first. There's all these like natural, air quotes, everybody, natural
Yeah.
products, and you start sampling things and everything. And it's like, you need to hold off and just really sample the things that you want to try because quickly you're like, that's too much. Anyways, that's my Bob's Red Mill story for you.
Awesome.
Well, you have a lot to choose from in here in this chapter here with salads and sandwiches. You've got chickpea and avocado salad, mashed chickpea salad, warm sweet potato and Brussels salad, kale, black bean, and quinoa salad, pesto potato salad. I'm here for anything with pesto. I love it. And a southern black bean pasta salad. What about this green goddess sandwich? What's on that? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there's a lot in that. Now, like the term green goddess is like, I have made it, there was the TikTok thing on it, and I'm like, I don't know, I've been making that for years.
Yeah. I
But
think I might have like a avocado sort of green goddess dressing in my first book even. But is there like is green goddess hitting TikTok in a big way right now?
yeah, I mean, not for me,
Oh,
but it was somebody. I mean, I wish. That'd be awesome.
right.
But in this
We
one,
just need to pair the garlic tip with the green goddess, and there we'll hit.
yeah, trying to get some more of the earthy flavors
Mm-hmm.
with some more of the like citrusy and acidicness of it, and then yeah, just trying to like look at what are some other plant or whole food plant-based things to kind of round it out. So using cannellini beans,
Nice.
and so that's what's making it a little more creamy. A lot of times when we think about creamy stuff, we're thinking about, I'm going to blend up some tofu or cream cheese. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But yeah, cannellini beans are awesome for making different cream sauces.
Yeah,
because they
100%.
blend down so well.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. I just did a Caesar dressing with, and I've taken a Caesar dressing that I've loved for years and been making for years, and I was like, let me try this with beans now and see how that base turns out. Yeah, beans are a great swap for some creamy bases. Next, we have soups and stews. Are you a soups only in soup season kind of guy?
No, I like it pretty much
All
always.
year round?
I mean, I live in Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
it's cold always and awful.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so soup is pretty much always in season.
Yeah.
But no, I like soup because a lot of times, like, it's easy. You just put a whole bunch of stuff into a pot and then boil it,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like,
Yeah,
that's all soup or stew is.
It's one of my favorites. I love it so much, and it's I'm an all year round kind of guy, and this chapter is full of soups and stews that will keep me coming back for more, with offerings like Hungarian red lentil soup, spinach, barley, and carrot soup, wild mushroom soup, Moroccan inspired chickpea stew, asparagus and leek soup, miso lentil and kale soup, and fennel and ginger butternut squash soup. Is there a soup from here that you knew right away that you've always been making that you'd be putting in this book from your repertoire?
Absolutely. So the one that like I love, and it is my kind of go-to winter soup, is the curried acorn squash one. It's, I don't even, it was, been making it for years. I have it in I have a like a binder that I started. Oh man, this tells me how old I am. I think it was like 15 years ago. I started this 3-ring binder, and I was like just putting stuff in the little plastic sleeves and all of it.
That's great.
And that was one that I threw in there forever ago. But it's using acorn squash again as like that creamy base to it, because you cook it down, and like it's super easy because you can make that ahead. You know, you can bake your acorn squash and then just leave it in the fridge or freeze it for whenever you want to use it. But it's got that as that creamy base. It adds some of that like the like nuttiness, like that's that acorn squash is a little bit of that nuttiness to it, a little bit of sweet as well. And then adding in curry, so a curry powder. So you're getting just a lot of like aromatics from that and a lot of just flavor from that seasoning. But then kind of bringing it back to more of like summery-ish feel, as you can throw some dill in there.
Oh, great. Little
and
pop of dill.
Yeah, and it goes well. Like,
Yeah,
I love it.
That was a
just got,
surprise ingredient you just tossed in there. I wasn't expecting that.
yeah, but yeah, the dill combined with that, I mean, it's not like it's making it pickly, but it just, I don't know, makes it a little bit more bright, because you're pairing it with all these really like heavy earthy flavors.
I love that. It's no big deal. Well, now we come to the mains chapter, and I got to tell you, we see the sweet potato gnocchi in here a couple times pictured in this book, and it looks outstanding. So I have to try it. I almost made it last night, and then I thought I had sweet potatoes, and I didn't. I was like, I was gonna make it. What's a recipe from the mains chapter that you know you can bring to the table when you've got people over, or you're entertaining, or a holiday maybe, or something? What's a mains recipe that's a home run for the crowd?
I mean, I make the sweet potato gnocchi a lot. That's probably one of my favorites, just out of this mains section,
Yeah.
because it's really, really easy. I mean,
Sure.
it's just sweet potato and flour, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it. So
Yep.
you're getting, again, great fiber. You're getting a lot of different nutrients, vitamins, minerals, all that from the sweet potato. But then it also is like a comfort food.
Yeah.
You know, you're eating gnocchi.
Yep.
Like it's comforting. And then you can throw in a lot of other things too, like, you know, in the picture that's in the book, there's some like chopped peanuts on top.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes well with it, as well as like spinach, kale,
Sure.
any kind of green.
Toss those
There's a lot
veggies
of
in.
different, yep, a lot of different ways that you can cook it. But the other one in here that's like, I think kind of my absolute favorite is the mali kofta. So it's an
Okay.
Indian dish, and typically, I mean, it's a like a tomato gravy.
Mm-hmm.
So tomato cooked with like just a ton of different spices. You know, it's a really hearty, rich, flavorful, aromatic meal. But I really don't like making those little like potato balls that are in it,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean that's what makes it mali kofta.
Yeah.
I don't like making those because they take too long, and I it's like hit or miss, like if I can get it to work or not. So I'm
Sure.
like, you know what?
Sure.
I'm just gonna take all the ingredients from those potato balls
Yep.
and just cut them up and put them into the stew.
Great.
And you know, you're still getting all of that. Tastes good, and like it's that gravy, the sauce that I love the
Yeah.
most, anyways. So, but yeah, that's like hands down one of my favorite meals.
I love that.
That
And I
mali
love that
kofta.
little I mean shortcut or variation, let's say variation on it, where you're
Yeah,
like, let's not do that part. Let's get this on the table quickly.
yeah.
And there's so many great options in here. We have a baked falafel, chickpea, coconut curry, spicy soba noodles with sesame peanut sauce. Always love a good peanut sauce. Roasted
Hmm.
red peppers and farro bowl. There we are again with the farro. Pesto quinoa stuffed peppers, one pot shachuka, mushroom risotto, roasted ragu with whole grain pasta, and Thai inspired rice bowl. And I had a bit of a sweet tooth this last week, and I knew I was going to have you on. So I flipped this open to the snacks and treats chapter, which is the next
Mm.
chapter. And I quickly whipped up so easy the mint brownie date bars. I actually have them behind me in my fridge right now. It's remarkable. I haven't eaten them all yet, though, because they're perfect. It's just a few ingredients with that little pop of mint. So tasty, so easy. And I was considering the carrot cake balls.
Mm.
And I think I'll have to return to those for another time, because I really was like, what can I just toss into my food processor immediately?
Mhm.
And so the mint brownie date bars did not disappoint. Is there a sweet treat or snack you keep on hand from here to grab when the hunger strikes?
Yep. The one that I make the most, and I've been making it for a long, long time, is that chickpea cookie dough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's essentially hummus, but it
Right.
tastes like cookie dough.
Yeah.
So you can't go wrong with that. I mean, I love it. It's a great snack because you feel like you're getting that comfort food of, you know, just
Yep.
licking the bowl of
Yeah.
after you make
Cookie
cookies.
dough. Yeah.
Yeah, you're just like snack on cookie dough. My kids love it, and I feel great giving it to them because it's pretty much just chickpeas and peanut butter.
Yeah.
Um,
What's all in there that gives it the cookie dough vibe?
yeah, so like chickpeas are another one of those like super versatile ingredients that we just
Yeah.
don't use enough. You know, people think of it as like, oh, it's hummus, or I'm just going to eat it raw. And it's like, no, it's a great creamy base to things that like can thicken up and be
Yeah.
like a cookie dough
Yeah.
consistency. But the thing that I put it in here too, it's in the instructions. I've put it on Instagram quite a few times. Is there's like a skin on the outside of chickpeas.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that little piece of cellulose on it,
Mm-hmm.
and by removing that, you kind of like get rid of some of the chickpea flavor, that
Mm-hmm.
beanie flavor, and your end result is going to be a lot smoother and a lot creamier. So if you've ever had hummus and you've made it at home and you're like, it's kind of gritty, it's probably gritty because all that skin is on there. Like that's
Yeah.
just a lot of plant matter, right?
Yep.
And then for cookie dough, like you definitely don't want it to be gritty. You want it to be as smooth
Mm-hmm.
as possible. So combining the peeled chickpeas with a bunch of peanut butter. So you're again getting a lot of the nutrients from that because peanut butter is like, yeah, and that's what like when people say, "Oh, I could never be vegan." It's like, have you ever had peanut butter?
I mean,
Like, it's like that's vegan. Like, and
yes.
it's this awesome thing. You know, it's a great fat that you
Yeah.
need for your body. I mean, it's filling and it's delicious. You could just eat it with a spoon, you know, like
Yeah. So many
peanut
people
butter's
are
great.
already half vegan and they don't even realize it. They're
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
you can.
peeling of the chickpeas is interesting. I had Drina Burton on the podcast yesterday, and she was talking about she has this whole chapter in a book on hummuses, and she's like, I just love hummus. And I was like, well, do you peel your chickpeas? Have you ever? And she was like, no. And I was like, listen, I've done it and tried it. The difference is real. The difference is
Mhm.
real. Do you just have to suck it up and peel the chickpeas, or do you have some sort of roundabout hack for doing that like quickly? I imagine you just have to roll up the sleeves and get to it.
No, that's how I started. I started years and years ago peeling it. I kind of did it by accident because I was like, getting the chickpeas out of the can, and there was a bunch of the skin floating. And I was like, oh, that's gross. And then I like picked up a chickpea and like squished it a little bit,
Yeah.
and the skin popped off, and I was like, huh, all right. So then I, would go through a whole can of chickpeas and I'd peel every single one individually. And I was like, okay, I love the result.
Yeah.
I hate the hour that it took me to
Yeah.
do
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, there's got to be faster ways of doing this. So then I was thinking about, okay, when you wash your chick, like if you put it in, you're trying to like wash off some of the
Uh-huh.
Aquafaba, the canned goo.
Yeah.
Some of the skins float. I was like, all right,
Okay.
let's try this. So I just put my chickpeas into a bowl, filled it with water, and started like rubbing the chickpeas together with my hands, and the skin started coming off.
All
I was like,
right.
okay, and the skin floats. So I was like, oh, that's even better. So now you can just kind of like
Scoop the
tip.
skins out.
Yeah, you can skip it or like tip it, and like the chickpeas are heavy, so we're gonna stay at the bottom, and all the skins float off. So that's probably like my go-to way of peeling it, because you can do a whole can of chickpeas in like, I don't know, 60 seconds or something like that.
See, this is what I'm talking about, everybody. That's exactly the kind of magic that Justin has for you, because literally this is the third person I've had this conversation with, and everybody's like, I can't even think of spending the time to do that. And I have done it, and I was like, yeah, I get that. But now that is a good hack. I really like that. So I'll have to try that the next time, because every time I make hummus now, I'm like, oh, I should take the skins off. Like I almost have a guilty feeling about it, because I'm like, I know it's going to be better if I take the skins off. I should just take the skins off. So now I'm going to try that. That's very good. Well, of course, I mentioned the mint brownie, date bars, and carrot cake balls, but there's a tahini ginger cookie. We mentioned the chickpea cookie dough. We're talking about that right now. Mango plantain nice cream, almond flour, cranberry thumbprints. Thumbprints are my husband's favorite. So he likes the traditional raspberry thumbprints, but I know he would like these almond flour cranberry thumbprints, so I'll have to give those a go. Lemon oatmeal cacao cookies. So many options for people to have something sweet yet healthful on hand. And the final chapter here sets us up for success with homemade staples. Items like cashew sour cream, quick mole sauce. Also, my husband loves mole sauce, and I have not created one with success yet, so I'll have to give this one a go. Everyday pesto, almond and lemon ricotta, Whole Foods plant-based granola, savory chia crackers, tofu cream cheese, and even mocha walnut cashew butter. Is there a staple in here that we will always find in your fridge these days? Something you always have on hand?
Yeah. So when I was putting this chapter together, it was kind of, working with my editor of like, all right, I have all these other recipes, but I have no idea where to put them.
Where do they
So we're
go?
like, well,
Yeah.
let's just make like a whole chapter of random things, that
Yeah.
you might have in your fridge. So the two out of this that I make the absolute most, and I pretty much always have, is that harissa sauce.
Okay.
And that one I created that one kind of by accident. I
I
don't
love a
remember. I was
good
trying to
accident.
I was trying to make, I think, like a pasta sauce or
Okay.
something. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna roast these red peppers. I'm gonna roast my onion and garlic and all this stuff. And I, threw it in the blender, processed it, and just like the smell of it initially, I was like, huh, it smells like something I know. And I tasted it, and I was like, oh, it's kind of like a harissa. And so then
Yeah.
I like, looked up, okay, what are some of the other things in it? And then I just pulled some of like the acidic, the cumin, all of those different things. I love it. Like if you're making like a grain bowl of some kind, I love farro. And I talk about in this book quite a bit, a lot of like repeated ingredients,
Yeah.
because like that's something that's always, I guess, annoyed me about like blogs and cookbooks, is that you go through it and there's like, you need 5,000 ingredients to make all those recipes.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Like, where am I going to put all these things, or where am I going to find half this stuff? So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, I need to think realistically of, if I want to help people understand this kind of food, I have to be able to create it in a way that is accessible for them. You know, I
Mhm.
can think about my parents in a small town up in northern
Sure.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to be able to find some like really obscure, weird ingredient.
Yeah.
You know, but farro, yeah, that's super
Psyllium
common.
husk. Psyllium husk,
Yeah,
anyone?
exactly. So I was like, okay, I want to figure out, okay, what are some just common ingredients and things to use for it.
Nice.
But yeah, that harissa sauce, I use that a lot in grain bowls. It's a good like dip. You can even add that into hummus. I've done that, like just a plain hummus. Put a
Delicious.
big scoop of the harissa on top, and
Great. No
it just
skins.
adds
No
like,
skins.
yeah, it just adds like a whole much more flavor.
Yeah.
And then the granola, that's another one too that
Mm.
I pretty much always have, because that was something like, especially thinking about my own health journey. A lot of times we think like, okay, granola, that's good for you, right? But if you ever look at it, I mean, it's disappointing with like how much oil is used, and like
The
how much
store.
sugar. Yeah,
Yes.
the store-bought
And
stuff.
the store-bought stuff and the serving size. A quarter
Yeah,
cup. I'm
yeah,
not. I'm what? A
yeah.
quarter cup of granola. What sort of human do you think I am? There's no world there where it's possible where I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm so satisfied I had a quarter cup of granola.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
possible. It's not
No, and it's like,
possible.
yeah, it's like a quarter cup, and it's like 500 calories.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. And it's because of
it's
all
like,
those
oh,
things you're saying, the
exactly.
oils and the everything in there and the
Yeah,
sugar.
yeah. So yeah, that was one, like, again, when like Aquafaba became this like huge thing, where people discovered like, oh, I can whip chickpea can water
Yeah.
into something. It's like, all right, let's try this with granola.
Well, so
And
what
let's
do you
try
do
to
with the granola? What do you do with this? What's in it and what do you do with the aquafaba then?
Yeah, so the Aquafaba is it's the liquid that's in a can of chickpeas,
Mhm.
and you know the water, when they put the chickpeas into the water and they can it, like a lot of the stuff from the chickpeas leaches out, like a lot of the fiber and a lot of the protein and all of that. And so it is like you pour it out and you're like, oh, it's not really like water anymore. It's kind of thick. But if you whip it, you can almost whip it into like a whipping cream
Mhm.
consistency. I mean, it doesn't taste like that at all, but
Right. No, no,
you can whip it into that
no.
consistency. Yeah. And then when you add it to other things, it acts kind of like a whipped egg white in
Mhm.
a lot of ways. It's gonna, cut like with the granola, it's gonna cover the oats, and it's going to bind other things to the oats.
Yeah.
So that way you can get that little clumpiness in it. But it doesn't add like flavor. It's not like you're
Right.
eating granola and just tasting chickpeas,
Right.
but it acts as like that nice base to combine ingredients and to like actually connect them. But it's got a lot of seeds in there. I use maple syrup. Pure maple syrup is the sweetener for it.
Great.
And maple syrup also helps to, when you bake it, it's going to caramelize and it's going to give it a bit
Mhm.
more of that crunch. So that way we can avoid using oil, because oil is a huge part of store-bought granola. I mean, that's what's
Mhm.
making it crispy. And they use a
Yep.
ton of different sugar in
Yeah.
there, again,
Yeah.
to make it
Yeah.
crispy and sweet and be like, I love granola. It's so healthy.
Yeah.
Um, so the maple syrup swaps that out. And then, I mean, I make a huge batch of it. You can freeze it. It
Yeah.
freezes really well. And uh, I usually will eat it with like just maybe raw, like on its own, or not raw, but
Mhm.
like by itself, I should say.
Yeah. Yep.
You could
Yep.
throw chopped banana in there, so you get
Mhm.
some fruit. I always have nut butters. I have so
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
because I use them for just pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Throw that in there. I mean, it's a quick breakfast. It's a quick
Yep.
meal, even, and it's not super heavy. You don't feel gross after eating it, and you're full, because you can
What
actually have a pretty big serving of it.
Well, I was gonna say, what would you say a serving size would be of your granola? Like, if you
I
have
think
a bowl of
it's
granola, how much
yeah.
are you allowing yourself?
For this, I mean, in the book even, like the serving size is a cup
There we
of it.
go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah, and
talking
it's
about.
yeah, it's a cup, and if you follow the recipe in here, without making substitutions, I mean, it's 350 calories for a whole cup. So
Fantastic. That's what I'm
compare that
talking
to some
about.
other ones it's like a half cup,
Yes.
and it's 500 calories of pretty
Insane.
much just sugar.
I
But you
mean,
still get like just on its own, like without adding anything else to it, no other nut butters or anything. It's 8 grams of protein
great.
and then 9 grams of fiber, and that's the other important part too.
I love that. I love that granola came up because really everybody listening, it is the biggest myth in the world that these store-bought granolas are a healthy breakfast. It's insane to me. So,
Mhm.
and we're ending the book on that. So that's a good note. Everybody make this granola. What's a book brag for you from this book? Something you're most proud of when it comes to this book?
I loved the beginning, writing the first 2 chapters of the book,
Mm-hmm.
because that was where I got to kind of share more of the why behind it. Um, and I think that's what really throws people off a lot of times when they think about, I want to be vegan or I want
Sure.
to, be healthier and all of it. And we're so inundated in our society with different health myths, like
Mm-hmm.
granola, like that's one of
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
These companies telling us this is healthy when
Truly.
it's like healthier than maybe, like a sausage patty,
Right.
sure,
But they're
but
tossing all that sugar in. So you're
yeah,
addicted to it, then you're eating more, like all these things.
yeah, and it's really processed, and that's always the thing that catches me when I really think about like where my food is coming from. And you think about, a store-bought bag of granola and all the ingredients in it, and all those ingredients had to come from somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
from different factories,
Yeah.
and then they get sent to another factory to get put together, and then they sit on a shelf for who knows how long,
Right.
months, years, who knows, like.
Yeah, truly.
So what you're getting is something that's like heavily processed from all over the world, and it's been sitting on a shelf for a while, and
Yeah.
yet they're saying this is healthy.
Yeah.
So the first 2 chapters is where I really got to share a lot of what I've learned throughout my own health journey, as well as just all of the independent research I've done on food, and try to break it down into something that people could easily understand. Because, like, I'm not a dietitian, not a nutritionist. I don't have a medical degree. Like, I
Yeah.
have an English degree.
Sure.
And I've been teaching English and I work in education. And so in terms of like the normal person, like I'm pretty normal, and I wanted to use language that could help other people maybe dispel some of those myths, to understand food a little bit deeper,
Sure.
and just to think about it. Like that's the biggest thing, is like we just don't stop and think about what we're putting into our bodies enough.
Right.
And it's because we're busy. I mean, we're busy, we're overwhelmed, we are lied to constantly
Mm-hmm.
by
Mm-hmm.
marketing companies trying to get us to buy their products.
Yeah.
And so this is like, okay, not only is it better for your body in terms of
Yeah.
nutrients, but it is, like, when you really break it down, like it is so much cheaper too. And especially now, like looking
Truly.
at our current society where the food
Yeah.
prices have skyrocketed, and there's all different kinds of, you know uh, we're supply chain issues or whatever,
Yeah.
is let's go back to this stuff
Yeah.
because it's really affordable. Like you could
Yeah.
buy a bag of, like, a 10-pound bag of pinto beans for like $5,
Yeah.
and that's going to last you for months,
Mm-hmm.
or like a big bag of rice or something like that. And that's
Right.
really what this book is taking a lot of those things, and like I'm tricking you into having more money.
I mean,
Yeah.
truly.
Like, oh, it's better for your body.
Yeah.
So, maybe less hospital
Yep.
visits.
Yep.
And it's better for your wallet because it's all, I mean, it's just stuff that it's cheap.
Yeah, it's cost effective. It's cost effective.
Hmm.
That's true. Well, you are changing the world. You're clearly an educator by nature, and it shows through in
Hmm.
everything that you do, including these books. So I'm grateful for it, and I know the rest of the world is as well. You're making a change. You're making a shift, and we appreciate you. We're going to move on to your rapid fire round of questions. Are you
Oh,
ready?
all right. I'm
Here we
ready.
go. Favorite shape of pasta?
Oh my God. You start with like the hardest one.
There's so many to choose from.
I know that's not rapid fire. Like that's gonna make me think. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I'll just go with a long noodle. Like,
There you go. There you go. Food on a skewer or a tiny spoon?
skewer,
Most used tool in the kitchen?
knife.
All right. Hot sauce or barbecue sauce?
Hot sauce.
First job you ever had?
Paperboy.
There we go. Favorite spice to cook with?
Oh my gosh. Again. Wow, that's you should see my spice cabinet.
Ah,
It's like the whole wall is
right.
spices. I use smoked paprika the most.
That's a popular one. That's a popular
Yep.
one. A shout out to one of your favorite creative people that you know, either that you know or that you admire.
Hmm. Oh boy. I don't know. There's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard because like on social media, I mean, we're so connected with
Yeah.
so many different people and like so many different creative minds, and everybody's coming from different directions and different goals of it. I mean, she's a modern celebrity now, but Tabitha Brown. I
Oh
mean, she's
yeah,
making
that's a
some.
good one.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
she's making veganism accessible to people and
Mm-hmm.
exciting. And I mean, she's just so like happy and
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
love to just hang out with her.
Yeah. She's great. She's great. Did you get any of the Tabitha Brown line from Target when it came out for that little limited run there?
I did. I got a mug. I got that. I
Nice.
snatched that right away because I was like, all right, I want
Yeah, I
this.
got this water bottle that I love, and I went one day
Oh,
and I didn't grab it, and I was like, it's not going to be there if I don't go back now and go get it, and I love it.
yeah. Yeah. And I got some little like they're tiny little notebooks. I have no idea
Hmm.
what to do with them.
I know, but you were you're
I
like,
was like, I
yes, why
have
not?
to. They're
Did
cute.
you
Like
get any of the food? Did you try any of the popcorn or anything?
a couple. Like when I went there, they were pretty much out of all of the
Yeah, it
stuff. I
went
mean, she
quick.
had like the ravioli and all, but they didn't have any of that. I did get one of the. I'm trying to remember which popcorn it was. It was good, whatever it was.
There
I
was
remember that.
dill, there was Parmesan, and then I can't remember what else, but the dill one blew my mind. It was so
Yeah.
good. Who's a celebrity you would like to cook for?
Tabitha Brown.
There you go.
I would,
She'd
I would
love
love to
it.
cook
She'd
for
love
her.
it. What's
Or Ryan Reynolds.
oh,
I would
very
cook for
good.
him.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a show that you binge watched during quarantine?
Uh, I caught up on Walking Dead.
There you go. Okay.
I'd like fallen off for years, and I just
It
blew
was
through
a
it.
good time for people to catch up on
Hmm.
stuff that they had fallen off on. So
Yep.
that was time used wisely. What's your most used emoji?
Probably the one where it's just like the lines for eyes and the lines for a mouth.
Just like
Yeah, the
like
flat one where you're just kind
dead
of
face,
like
neutral face. Yeah. Yep. Mhm.
disappointed.
Disappointed face. There you go. I wonder if that's what do you put in when you want? Oh, now it's probably on your most used emoji board, so it's just there. Sometimes
Yep.
it's like I find one I love and then I can't find it again. I'm like, I don't know what to put in to find this. What's your favorite physical activity?
Biking, cycling.
Nice. City you would like to visit?
Houston.
Ah, great. Okay. Morning person or a night owl?
Both.
That's great. Well, you did it. That was your rapid fire. So easy, so easy,
I
so
know.
breezy. Justin, please tell everyone where they can find you on social media and on the internet.
So pretty much everything of mine has the name Crow Moon Kitchen, just one word for it. That's
Great.
my blog, www.crowmoonkitchen.com. That's my Instagram account that I probably post to the most. I have a TikTok, but like I'm
TikTok.
too old to understand TikTok.
Same.
I'm not gonna do all this. It's not gonna do all the dancing and all of that. That's too much.
No, I'm
Too old for
definitely not
that.
doing the dancing. Every now and then I'll see like a dance that I think is like easy-ish, and I'm like, maybe, and then I'm like, I don't have time for that. I'm a cranky old man about it. I started trying it around Christmas time this last year, and then I would like repost things from Instagram because I was like, I'm not investing solely in TikTok videos. So occasionally, if I think about it, I'll repost, but it's not on the priority list. So I feel you. Well, everyone, go get your copies of the complete gluten-free vegan cookbook and also the book we spoke about today, the Whole Foods Plant-Based Cookbook by Justin Weber. You can get this everywhere books are sold, and it has been a joy to chat with you, and I'm grateful for all the wonderful content you provide people. I know you've inspired so many people on their personal journeys to health and happiness, so I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Keep on Cooking. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review if you like the podcast. It helps a lot.
Yeah. and get more information on the podcast, Dustin's cookbooks, the Vegan Roadie series, and sign up for our newsletter at veganroadie.com.
And of course, follow us at The Vegan Roadie on all social media platforms. Now get in the kitchen and keep on cooking. And hey, remember, it's nice to be nice. This has been a Muzzy Cat production.